Back with issue number 2, installment number 2 of the converting my garage into a recording studio, whatever you want to call it. So let's see where I am now. It's probably maybe 4 or 5 days later from the last video that I'm filming this, not when it's going to be uploaded. But so let's walk into the garage and let's see. So yeah, it doesn't look like much, but if you come over here, a lot of the lawn stuff is gone. All the walls are down, as you saw in the previous video. So where did all this stuff go? Well, it's still, a lot of stuff is still outside here, but I spent this whole past weekend working on this. The shed, here's some of the equipment. Got this from Home Depot. I think it was like $469. These are my ramps that I have. Might build another, just a regular ramp to go up, but for now this will work. But this thing isn't too bad. I'm actually going to probably put some Flex Seal tape on all these, where these screws are, even though they have washers. And I'm gonna spray Flex Seal all the way around the plywood. This is 16-inch high cinder blocks that I'm using. It said you could build it right on the pavement, but I figured why let water just build up so the water can go underneath. And this is it. It's a 10 by 12. It might get echoey in here. I can actually stand up in here in the middle. I'm hitting my head right here, but gotta kind of scoot down when I get to the corners, which isn't a big deal. You can see daylight up there. I think I'm going to seal that. There is, along the ridge up here, there's 2 layers of weather stripping tape. You can kind of see it here. There's what they give you, and then there's another clear one that I put in. These rubber mats I had. Now what I actually did, the whole shed, like I said, was $469. It actually came with the floor frame kit, but I built the base, I put it up on the cinder blocks, and I put plywood on top of that. So underneath, you can see, underneath these, there's more plywood, because it did come with the floor frame kit, which was just a bunch of metal kind of laid out along the floor, you know, horizontally and vertically. But then I put more plywood over that, so it should stay pretty dry. I mean, I don't care if it gets a little wet in here. I can cover the important stuff. This is basically what I got to get the stuff out of the garage. So now all I'm doing now is going to stop putting stuff in here and seeing where things fit, and then after that I'm going to really get working on the garage. Probably going to put the Flex Seal on the floor where there's cracks, and also all along the edges where the foundation hits the slab. Just kind of try to seal that. I'm probably going to caulk it or silicone it. I'm going to eventually go outside and do that too, but try to keep as much water out of there as I can. We don't really get a lot of water in unless we get like a rain that it rains like 2 inches for an hour or two. Then I only get a little bit of water seeping in just down here. So I think if I'm gonna clean this all up, Flex Seal it, do some silicone, and hopefully that'll be fine. That's it. Might be another little section to this video right after this, but this might be the only part for issue 2. If it is, I'll see you in issue 3. If not, I'll see you in the next segment. See ya. I decided to show you some photos of the building of the shed rather than bore you with the video. Here is the site. I marked it out with some chalk, and again, it's 10 by 12. Then I originally started with, I believe it's, I don't want to count them, but it was either 12 or 15 of the cinder blocks, and then moved on to the plywood. It was cheap plywood that I had laying around in the garage. Some of them came off the walls, if you saw in the previous video, and there were holes and cuts, but it didn't matter. It was just to get a foundation started. Next, on to laying out all the parts for the shed from the box. The box was very small. It was maybe 3.5 feet wide by just about 7 feet long, and it was really thin, so there was a lot of really thin parts in the box, and I wanted to make sure everything was there. And then we had the first sign of walls, actually corners. You had to put the 4 corners up first, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on this exact shed and people building them, and every one of them had said to follow the directions. I'm known to actually cut ahead, move ahead in the directions, only to have to go back and fix things. So I tried it the best I could not to jump ahead on this, which is a good thing because it was a pain to put this thing together. Then we had actual walls going up on all 4 sides and the door opening. It was moving along at this point. It was Saturday. It was probably 4 or 5 hours into this. This was probably the hardest part, which was the roof, because you had to start with one panel on one side, whether it was the right or the left. Put that in, but not screw all the screws in, or the bolts, and then go to the opposite side, put that, and just kind of build your way towards the front. And it was easy at first, but once you couldn't reach from the outside with the ladder, you had to get inside, and there really wasn't a lot of room in there to work this. Plus you had to put the weather stripping tape as you're going along, so if you could see it in that photo there that the tape was hanging where I left off, and I had nowhere else to put it. Try to keep it on top, but just the whole shed moving, it would just roll right off. And then once I had the basic structure of it done, the roof and the sides and the walls and all that, now was the floor frame kit, which you can see in the photo was just metal studs, I guess you call it, going through and across. Then came time for the actual flooring. So we had 2 layers of plywood. This is the second layer. Didn't come out perfect. Again, I used repurposed wood that I had, so the cuts were kind of funky, but the floor is stable. It's going to be fine. Then I added some of these rubber mats that if you remember from the garage in the previous video, just another layer. Put this down and this should help too. These are the metal ramps that I had talked about earlier in the video that I'm going to use for now. And how well and how easy it is to get things in and out of there are going to determine whether or not I want to actually build a ramp for this shed. And as you can see, I pretty much got everything I need to get into this shed. There's a few more things that are still in the garage. I just didn't feel like finishing it today. Overall, the shed took most of the day on Saturday, and then just bits and pieces of the next day, Sunday, to get this to the completed stage that you see in this video. So that's it for issue number 2. Until issue number 3, have a good one.